Hello, Sammy here with our tarot astrology reading, and I'm so happy to be here with you today. It is our second day here on Sammy Tarot, having moved over from Dos Caracolitos, and so far it's delightful over here. Thank you for joining me, and let's see. So we will get right to it. We'll start out by listening to the sound bowl and feeling those beautiful healing vibrations. And then I'll talk about what's happening in the stars, in the sky, and then we're going to pull some tarot cards. And I have a surprise for you. You might realize that you don't recognize this deck. So I'll say more about that in just a few minutes. But in the meantime, I invite you to find a comfortable position, get settled in. We'll take a few deep breaths, and then I'll play the sound bowl. And when I do that, I invite you to just feel what the sound feels like as it moves through your body, and notice any other sounds happening around you. And it could be fun to remember that sound waves travel infinitely, and they might change, but they never really disappear. So the sound will pass through us and in our bodies and go on, and maybe carry a little bit of us with it. So let's send out waves of love and the intention for all beings everywhere to be happy and peaceful and free. Freedom is so delicious. Okay. Inhaling. Exhaling. Feels so good. Thank you, Bull. Thank you, Wand. So we are still here with our moon in Cancer today, and it's kind of a really cool day. I don't know about you, I love numbers, and I think they contain so much magic and the ability to help me see things that are important and notice and pay attention and find pleasure in patterns. And today is October 10th, so that's 10/10/2020. 10/10/2020 is pretty beautiful, I think, as a numbers. It's very simple and repetitive, and all of those, the ones which represent unity, and the zeros which represent infinity, and the twos which represent balance and union of opposites and love. So it's kind of awesome. And then at the same time, what's happening in the stars is that we have the moon right now is in Cancer opposite Capricorn, and in Capricorn we have Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto, which have been there for a while and will be there for another month or two altogether. But that means that there's 3 opposites, and at the same time those 3 planets each have 3 squares, because on the one hand they are all square Mars in Aries, and on the other hand they're all square Mercury in Scorpio. So we have from here to here, from Cancer to Capricorn, boom, 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 3 oppositions. And then from up here, we have boom, 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 3 other squares. So that's 6 squares, 3 oppositions. And it's very symmetrical and creates, if you look at the star chart right now, it looks like this, like a bow and arrow, like a slingshot. With all of this energy is being funneled towards Capricorn, towards that stellium, and then at the same time it's being funneled outwards, back throughout the entire face, the clock face of the clouds and the sky and the stars, and distributing that energy through all the different directions. But what's really cool is that in the center we have the moon in these oppositions shining with Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto. And Saturn is a planet that has to do with sort of like purification, things finding their true nature, and all of the BS and all of the static and interference, anything that comes between the way a thing is meant to be and what it isn't, it gets kind of flushed out through that. And then Jupiter is all about sort of like this expansiveness, this vastness. There's an element of generosity and giving, and like this unlimited energy available. And then Pluto is all about transformation. And Pluto, none of the planets are positive or negative. They're all just are what they are and have a balance of things that can be challenging and can be helpful. But Pluto is this like wild child almost of the zodiac and of the planets, where it likes to turn things upside down, and it likes to transform things, and kind of like the goddess Kali, if you study the traditions of, in India, the goddess Kali is all about, she's like the life, death, life goddess. So looking at death as kind of just a step between life and life, she destroys anything that is hurting life. So she's unafraid of causing destruction of what is wrong or evil or disharmonious or not functional or damaging, in order to allow for life to flourish. And so Pluto is, and also Saturn is like that too. And so Pluto over there has this really intense energy, this creative and destroying energy, and it's an energy that's associated with sexuality because it's like the base of our spines, and it's just like the place where so many creative impulses, whether they're sexual or artistic or a business or any kind of relationship, comes from this like deep, incredibly energetic, hot, intense place. And so having all those 3 planets together opposite the moon in Cancer right now is like, we are able to be emotionally and intuitively and in our hearts really, really aware of all of those things in our life that are coming into play. How am I able to cut out anything that is really not true to me and not helping my life flourish? How can I open myself up to all of the possibility, all of the incredible opportunities that are available at any moment being alive? How can I be generous? How can I be unafraid of change? And how can I allow my intensity and my creativity and my passion to bring me into greater joy and connection, and kind of guide it to be like a motor? My life is like a boat on this vast ocean, instead of having the motor without like if you didn't have your hand on the rudder and the boat was just going wherever it wants to go, bumping into things and hurting people, that would be like the Pluto energy without any direction. But if you just put your hand lightly on the steer, I don't really know boat words yet, but to guide it a little bit, then you could go directly where you want to go and experience all the beauty of being out on the open water. And you can choose when to stop and go deep into the depths, and choose when to come up again and feel the sun, and explore and travel far, exactly where you want to go, because there's so much power in that Pluto energy. And so now is a really amazing time today, tomorrow, to feel into all of those things and let our intuitions help us redirect a little bit, and redirect in ways that feel really good. And then, so if we have that like slingshot or that arrow, the triangle and the line in the middle with the moon here, we have perpendicular, these two trines happening, one on top and one on bottom. And there's a trine happening in the earth signs, where there's Venus in Virgo in a trine with Uranus in Taurus. And Uranus is very much about freedom and individuality, and Venus is very much about love and romance and connection and surrendering to love and the merging of souls. And so the fact that those are in trine together, those planets, trine is kind of is not like opposition. Opposition can be tense and intense, like we were talking about with just now with all of the Cancer moon and those planets in Capricorn. But the trine is like this gentle, like a little beam of light that is helping these things lift each other up. And so it's the perfect time to find that balance between the romance and the love, and like being your full self, and being unafraid to be exactly the way you are, your true self. You're the self that's grounded in love, not like we were just talking about Pluto and the possibility for the wildness to, when unchecked, take us in destructive patterns. And so I think that having the moon opposite Pluto, it's like, okay, we want to, with Uranus in Taurus, we want to be that individual, allow our individuality to be expressed. And at the same time, we've got to keep our hand on the steering and make sure that we're staying on the path of love as we express our individuality. Because if we're expressing our individuality in a way that's causing harm, that isn't really expressing our true selves. That's expressing some kind of ego or fear defense mechanism. And that is coming from a lack of understanding. Maybe like if Pluto were gone awry, but right now, since the moon is shining light on Pluto, and we have that balance between Uranus, that individuality, and Venus, that love, I think it's a great opportunity to be able to be the true self, the loving self, as you are as an individual, and have that be perfectly in harmony with being somebody who connects in love, and who is able to be harmonious in love and in relationships and with other people. And there's also that trine happening with in the water, we have Mercury in Scorpio, and then we have Neptune in Pisces. And those are about, so Mercury in Scorpio is about outward communication. Mercury is kind of fast and communicative. And then Neptune in Pisces is very dreamy and intuitive. And so there's that balance there between that internal kind of psychic, dreamy place, and then the ability to formulate thoughts and to share them with others. So we have that trine, meaning that harmony there. So we've got this beautiful opportunity to balance out our internal dreaminess and our ability to communicate, and that's a perfect balance, and then we also have that individuality, and then that romantic connection part of ourselves also in perfect balance. And going right down the line, we have the three oppositions with the moon in Cancer and the 3 planets in Capricorn. And so there is just a great amount of symmetry and alignment. And so I hope that you are feeling that and knowing that there's so much wisdom that you can tap into right now, and to be unafraid of changes and unafraid of letting things go, and unafraid of taking risks, and just embracing possibility and embracing connection and embracing your intuition and embracing love. So that's some of what's happening in the sky right now. And now I think we'll pull from some cards. And I have a couple decks with me today because of how exciting it is with what's happening in the sky with those 3 oppositions and 3 squares here and 3 squares there, and then those trines happening. So I'm gonna pull a couple of cards first from this deck I have. It's called the Spanish Tarot, and it's this beautiful deck with these vivid colors you see here, and it has the name of each card in Spanish and English. And I do want to start to do some readings in Spanish soon, so stay tuned for that. But now while I shuffle, it's a great opportunity to take a few breaths. Notice if there's anything that needs settling, or you already feel balanced, and if there's anything that you're wondering about, and you can always message in what's going on, or things you might be interested in hearing more about in the comments or in the messages. Okay, take a deep breath now. I'm going to start by, let's just pull 3 from here and then go to the other deck and then pull 3 from there and see what lines up. So I've got 1, 2, 3. These cards are so pretty, I just want to pick them all. But for today, we'll pick these. Okay, so I've got those 3. Now I'm going to take out my classic Rider-Waite deck. Let's shuffle this one up. Cutting the deck now. I hear the birds singing outside. It's so beautiful. Okay, let's pick 3 from here. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so first, let's go 1 for 1. I think that'll be fun. I want you to be able to see how they're all, can you see how they're laid out? There you go. Okay. Doing some yoga here. Okay, our first card. Fuerza, or strength. Wow. I'm so happy we picked this. So you see this figure here with a crown of gold and a kind of soft smile on her face, or their face, And do you see what she's got there? It's a lion, and she has her hand on its snout. Kind of just comfortably, but definitely firmly upon its snout. And she's not even looking at it. She's looking straight ahead with a kind of little smile on her face. So this beautiful card, I think, is just like we were just talking about with Pluto and being opposite the moon, and how Pluto is kind of like this lion here. It's this source of like intense raw energy, and it's beautiful, but it could cause a lot of damage if it's not guided. And I think it's like she's kind of like the moon. She has this lunar energy, this very like motherly, loving, very strong, and very also gentle at the same time. Firm but gentle, and she is holding on to this lion and keeping it in check. And so I think it's like having the moon opposite Pluto is this opportunity to guide our intense energy in directions that are creative instead of destructive. And from our second deck from today, we have the Nine of Cups, everybody. You might remember this card is nicknamed as the wish card. Kind of like when you have an eyelash on your skin and you get to blow it. It's like this opportunity to make a wish, because all of these cups are arranged, kind of ready to be filled, and this person's seated in the middle, calmly and happily and confidently. There is a ton of positive emotion here. So it reminds me of the trine that's happening now between Mercury in Scorpio and Neptune in Pisces. That balance between intuition and communication. So I think it's, if you have any wishes about things that you are hoping to be able to share, messages, projects, thoughts, feelings, things you are ready to express that come from a deep place, now is a beautiful moment to just say, like, what is it that you really want? If you could have anything, if you could have that message from your intuitive depths, create anything, what would that creation look like? How would it come about? And imagine it and wish it and hope for it and hold it close to your heart, and it will come true if you keep holding on to it and you keep putting that in front of you. And that is paired with the Strength card, so it's like, be strong, like use your energy in a focused way to guide it, and don't let go. She's not letting go of this lion. So whatever your wish is, your truest heart's wish, just believe in it and keep moving towards it, because there's a lot of energy there for you, and it just needs to be guided by your hand and steered in the direction it's already going. So that's our first pair for today. Our second pair. Okay, this is the, let's see, the Six of Espadas, Seis de Espadas. So this is, I think that's swords. I hope it's not wands. I'm still learning. See this picture? It's a beautiful picture, and I'm just gonna look to make sure that that is the Suite of Swords and not, let's see. Yeah, it is. Okay. So the number cards that don't have names on them, I'm still getting to know in this deck, but the Six of Swords, so that is a lot of energy for communication, collaboration, and it's kind of like already far along the path. So sort of like what we were saying, like whatever is unfolding is with your mind and your where your thoughts are focused and what you're creating with your thoughts and with your expression and ideas is well on its way to being developed. And then our other card that goes with that one is the Tower here we just pulled. So the Tower is things that are built upon, just like we were talking about Saturn, how the moon is opposite. So if, let's say, this card that we pulled is like the moon opposite Pluto, this card is like the moon opposite Saturn. And, you know, people hear about Saturn returns, which happen approximately every 28 to 31 years, about every 30 years. It takes 30 years for the Saturn to make a complete revolution around the sun. So wherever Saturn was in relation to the sun when you were born, it goes there again in 30 years, and then when you're 60, it shows up again, and then when you're 90, it shows up again, and then when you're 120, it also shows up, and then when you're 150, it shows up, and then when you're 180, it shows up, and by then, you probably don't have too much to work on because you've probably figured it out. But what happens during Saturn returns is typically, the simplest way is like if you have this life path that is one of evolution and growth and love, and you veered off of it, when you hit those landmarks, there tends to be a lot of change and tension that happens, and things fall apart unless you're right on your path. But if you're not right on your path, there could be things like big moves or job changes or an old certain relationships might transform and new relationships might come in, or it could be more internal where you just have like a new way of thinking or seeing about something. So that's like the Tower here, and having the moon opposite Saturn is like, okay, what is there that is falling apart or not working, and looking for something to put in its place that is working. Or if none of this is happening, then it's just like pat yourself on the back because you were right on track. Okay, and our third card from the Spanish Tarot is wow, La Torre, the Tower. We just got the same card twice in a row. That's the chances of that, I think, are 1 in whatever 78 times 78 is. Let's see, let's round up to 8. 8 times 8 is a 64. So basically 70. So what would be, so then you need to add how many zeros? Let's see, 80 times 80 is 640 or 6,000. Clearly math is not my strong suit, but if anyone's watching right now, they want to tell me what 78 times 78 is, that it's 1 in that many chances that we would get the Tower card twice in a row from these two decks. So I think that's a pretty strong message. And this card is from this deck. It's very beautiful. There's all of these bright colored dots. 6,400. Thank you so much. Thank you for helping me. I know I'm a bit of a fool. That's why I wear this shirt. But thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So the chances that we pulled this card and pulled this card are 1 in 6,400. That's like, it's like not a lot of chances. So I think the card of the day is the Tower. I love you, baby. Guys, that was my wife to be who just helped me out with that math. She's the best, and I'm so lucky, and I love you. So the Tower card here is our card of the day, and if you have a meditation practice or you have some time on your hands and you don't want to, I don't know, you're not sure what to do with it, maybe meditate on the Tower, because again, it's like when things fall apart, focus on A, why did they fall apart, and B, how can I build something that won't fall apart. It's not a time to dwell on, it's not a time to regret. There's no regret with this Tower card. There's no being sad that the thing that broke is broken, because it broke because it wasn't sound. And that could be an attitude, it could be a habit, it could be a thought pattern, anything in the world that stops really working. And it's like, okay, time to find a better solution. And because we pulled that twice, and I haven't really looked much at this booklet that comes with the Spanish tarot, I think it might be fun to see if there's anything else about it that I haven't mentioned. Okay, so let's see. Represents change facing destruction, unexpected events, adversity. Okay, so it doesn't really get into it very deeply, but that's the Tower card. And since we hadn't yet talked about Jupiter, and we were sort of doing Saturn, Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter as the three planets that the moon is opposite. Jupiter is about expansiveness. So if there's any areas where you are experiencing contraction, limitation, fear, or tension, those are towers that are broken and falling. And because the universe is expanding at every moment, constantly, and somehow miraculously, it seems like we get to stay sort of in one piece in our bodies, and our world kind of stays in some way in one piece, even though everything is expanding. So to be really in tune with reality is to be in flow with expansion and growth, and not tension and fear and contraction. So good question might be like, what is an area where I can open my mind? Where can I grow? What can I create? What exciting possibilities are there? What are solutions that I could bring into my life to have there be greater joy and freedom and love? Now, our last card of the day. The Ace of Wands. What do you see here? If anyone feels like sharing. There is a hand emerging from thin air, presenting this magical wand. And the wands are fire, and they are all about creativity and action, and the ace is unlimited possibility and potential. It's magical. And it's kind of interesting that we got this wish card, which says you can make a wish, and that we also have this wand card that says you can really create anything right now, and that you're being given a gift of energy and fire to do that with. And since we also have we have Mars in Aries right now, which is squaring off with Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto. And since Mars is at home in Aries, and it's been there for a minute now, and it's going to be there a little bit longer, it's a great time to feel that power that comes from taking action boldly and passionately and bravely, and to just make things, make your life, make your day, make it what you dream of. Identify what it is that you dream of, and with all of the energy that's available, that especially today, with the 3 oppositions and the 6 squares and the 2 trines, and then just take steps towards it. And I think also the ace is 1, and so it's a beginning, and it doesn't mean taking all of the steps all at once. It just means taking steps every day. So I think we have a beautiful layout today. We have strength, we have a wish, and we have a double tower. So there's a lot of transformation and a lot of focus and a lot of magic in the cards today and in the stars today. And I'm so happy that you could be here with me today. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. Wouldn't be able to do it without you. And I hope all of your wishes come true much sooner than you would even dare to hope, and that we can all feel expansive and transformed and on track, and also feel that warmth and nurturance and love, that the ideal motherly love of having the moon in Cancer. It's like whatever the dream mother or the ideal mother is, that she exists energetically with the moon in Cancer for us to tap into and be warmed by and be loved by. And we can love ourselves that way, and we can love each other that way. So I'll play the sound bowl, we'll take a couple breaths together, and then we'll say goodbye for today. Inhaling, exhaling. Have a beautiful evening.